Hi, and welcome to episode 79 of Invest in You. And today we will be interviewing John Lee Dumas, who I am very excited to do an interview with.
Right. So John Lee Dumas, he was one of the first podcasters I listened to at all many years ago. I really liked that he was so open and transparent what he was doing. He also was sharing how you can do a podcast. It took me many years until we actually did the podcast like he. So he has had well over 1,000 episodes. He's had more than 70 million downloads. That's the number from last year. So you can imagine now it's just kept going up and up and up. He has been with the military. He's been helping lots of entrepreneurs. One thing I think is super cool is he's quite transparent in terms of his business. He is making money from podcasting by affiliate things, selling merch, being creative, selling education. But most importantly, all of this is helping others. I hope you can see a similar link to what we are doing. We love to help other people. So without further ado, Charlie, any more comments before we jump straight in?
This will be awesome. Let's go.
Let's go.
Well, hello there.
Hi, man.
Hi.
How are you doing?
You know, Puerto Rico's sun is shining. Our birds are singing. Life is good.
Perfect. London.
Awesome.
London, pitch black. Charlie, where are you?
Sweden, and it's pitch black out here as well.
All right.
Awesome.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for joining us on our podcast. It's called Invest in You, as you probably might remember. So,
Sweet.
Charlie, without further ado, let's jump in.
Yeah, let's just go on to the first question. So, which area of your life does people forget to ask you about?
You know, people actually forget to ask me about the health and wellness side of my life because I've been really successful in business for 7 years. You know, I've created a multi-million-dollar a year business, and a lot of people want to focus on that, which I totally get and I'm happy to talk about. But how I've been able to sustain that for 7 years, like how I've been able to remain happy and healthy and all those things, it's because the first 90 minutes of my day are all about self-care. And I can tell you what, I'm about to turn 40, so it's incredibly important that I actually have that dialed in. I can tell that you're not quite 40 yet yourself, and you got some time before you're really gonna, dial that stuff in there. But I mean, let me tell you, there's nothing that will make you less happy about your success than being unhealthy and being in pain and just not being able to do the things you want to do. So it needs to be a priority.
Yeah, sounds great. Charlie, what do you do to keep in shape for him to know?
Well, I do parkour and taekwondo, and I do some strength training, a bit of calisthenics, and I run a bit almost every day.
Can I rewind the clock and come back as you? Because like if I had like half of that intuitive knowledge and actual execution at that age, I mean, I literally would be able to run against Donald Trump and displace him as president.
Yeah, that very much leads straight to your next question, right, Charlie?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. So if we go back in time to when you were 13 years old, what would you do different in terms of business?
Honestly, I would have started educating myself. And
Great.
the thing, I'm kind of looking at what I was doing at 13. And hey, I was living a great life. I was focused on sports. I was focused on school. But what I wasn't really focused on is what do successful businessmen and women actually do, to kind of achieve lifestyle freedom, location freedom, financial freedom? What do they do? It took me till I was 32 years old to literally start educating myself in that area and reading books and biographies of Henry Ford and J.D. Rockefeller and other greats, men and women of our, past generations who have achieved great things, learning about their lives and reading books like Think and Grow Rich and The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. I would have literally just started educating myself in those areas. And I just think it can't come at an early enough age where you're just surrounding yourself, not just with the right people, but the right content in the form of those books, podcasts, movies, etc.
Charlie, you're absolutely on track. You read at least a couple of those, and you're a bit younger than both.
I really think you're leading me onto the right path, and this is great.
And this must be we are so in sync. So you pretty much have read the questions that we have thought about before we even have shared any of them. So the next one is very much linked to your podcast. Obviously, is called Entrepreneur on Fire. We like to link to what you just talked about there, financial freedom, etc. So FIRE, you're familiar with the FIRE movement, financially independent, retire early. Seems like you're very much moving in that direction. You're pretty much there already, right?
I'm there. I'm retired right now.
Exactly.
I'm literally doing what I'm doing because I love the impact. I love inspiring others. I love just being able to continue to see other people get to FIRE, financial independence, retire early.
Exactly.
One of my favorites podcasts that I'm actually passionate about, and I wish that like every parent of a teenager and younger would listen to, and every teenager and younger would listen to themselves, is called Borrowed Future. Okay. And I'll tell you right now, it's actually a Dave Ramsey production. It's not nearly as big of a problem everywhere else in the world as it is in the United States.
Yeah.
But the United States it's like a crisis where these millennials and Generation Z are graduating from college hundreds of $1,000s in debt.
Yeah.
And they don't even know what that means. They literally don't know that means that they have just absolutely traded their future in for 4 years of fun. And what's sad though is it hurts everybody, not just them, because guess what? Now they're not buying houses, they're not buying cars, they're not going shopping and keeping the economy as on fire as it could be. So it destroys everything when you don't have that mindset of what does it mean to be financially independent? What could it look like to actually retire early? Like, what would that look like? And guess what? Being $100,000 in debt for a job that's going to pay you $45,000 a year. And this is something I wish somebody had told me, back when I was looking at jobs. I'd be like, oh my God, $45,000 a year. Let me break down what $45,000 a year is. After taxes, you're talking like you're getting like $1,400 every other week into your bank account. And half of that's going to rent. Exactly. Another chunk of that's going to food and your entertainment and your car payments and your student loans. You have no money when you're making $45,000. Zero, zip, zilch. So people don't understand that $45,000 is nothing.
Yeah, it's not like $45,000 that you can spend, so it just flies straight away.
When I was your age, that's what I thought it was, and I guarantee that's what 90% of teenagers think. That like, oh, this guy got a $75,000 a year job. If you have $100,000 in debt, you can almost pay off your debt in year one with your job. No, you might be able to pay that down $5,000 if you scrimp, but I mean, maybe.
Yeah. I'm multimillionaire in debt, but that's debt linked to cash flow from real estate. So that's very different, very much. I don't pay any of my mortgages. That's very, very different.
It's a different ballgame because guess what? That's not a liability. That's an asset. That's an investment. So completely different ballgame.
Yeah. Awesome. So you share your income costs on a monthly basis. What kind of like benefits has that led to?
A ton. I mean, honestly, people are drawn towards transparency, openness, genuine. And when you're just like, listen, I make mistakes every single month. Here are these mistakes. I have big successes and wins every single month. Here are those successes and wins. I want you to learn from my successes and avoid my mistakes. Like that's what it's all about. I bring our accountants on every single month to like share a tax tip and to also verify the report. So everybody just knows that, hey, these aren't just numbers published, but this is like a real profit and loss statements. I bring my lawyer on every other month to help with a legal tax tip for entrepreneurs and businessmen and women. So for me, that's the inspiration, is like to be as transparent as possible so people can know, like, and trust me, the business that I'm running and what I'm doing, but also that they can apply all of the learnings from what I'm doing right and avoid all the things that I'm doing wrong, because I'm doing a lot of both every single month.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I remember the very first time I found you. I can't remember when it was many years ago, your podcast, and I really liked the transparency and the energy and everything else. So thanks for hanging in there still today.
You're welcome, brother. 2,345 episodes later.
Exactly. Good one. So we are very fast approaching a new decade, which I think is awesome, because we're very good at fooling ourselves and our own brains when it's time to restart. For example, getting very close to 40, or in my case, I'm 45, or now we got 2020 coming up. Any new ideas, strategies, or is it just more of the same, enjoying life and helping others? What's 2020 to you? And I mean the whole decade.
Yeah. So the decade, I mean, I'm a big believer in the phrase that a lot of people a lot of people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, meaning like they set these huge audacious goals, but then they're crushed when they don't meet the goals in 1 year. So they overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. I mean, look what I've done in 7 years. I mean, like I literally have built a multi-million-dollar business in, it wasn't even 7 years. I built it in 3 years. But, I've been able to maintain it for these 7 years, and like, who knows what the next 10 years are going to bring. It's really exciting. So for me, 2020 is focused on my next big project, which is my first traditionally published book. I just signed and inked a deal with HarperCollins Leadership, the same people that's published Rachel Hollis, John Maxwell, some great people. And I'm going to be publishing and releasing that book in the spring of 2021. So it's still a little ways out, but the manuscript's due this coming spring. So I got to get to work on that jazz for sure. But the next 10 years for me, I will tell you, I don't know exactly what the next 10 years are going to bring now. I may end up in the future coming up with a 10-year plan, which I don't have this moment, but I can tell you there's going to be a very, very heavy focus on health, because to me, now that I've kind of got to the level that I wanted to financially and achieved the level of success that I want to business-wise, I know it's all about health if I want to enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very much up to ourselves to decide, would you like to live to be 70, 80, 100, 120, or even more? I got someone
150.
150. You're not the first one who says 150 to me. I believe in very much all health, biohacking, and especially if we've got the time and the money to actually take care of yourself and your loved ones.
Exactly.
Good one. Charlie, over to you.
Yeah. So our podcast name is called Invest in You. So what does investing in yourself mean to you?
It means spending the time, the energy, the efforts, and the money where it makes sense to actually improve yourself in the areas that you want to improve in. I think in this day and age, there's a lot of people who are really just like, I'm going to really try to be good at a lot of things.
Yeah.
Or they get a report card, just for example, and they have like A, B, B, C, F. All people will focus on the F, and they'll be like, I need to really work on the F. Like, why do you want to work on the F? Why do you want to become like okay at something you stink at? I want to focus on the A. I want to focus on, what am I great at right now? How can I become the best in the world? Like, how can we double down on what we're amazing at? That one thing that we can bring to the world. Because listen, in the world as it is today, like, you can be average at a lot of things really quickly, and you're just going to be surrounded by thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of other average people. Or you can find your niche that you're great at and go to the top and be the best and make that happen. So I would invest in myself, the time, the energy, the efforts, and the money to become greater at what I'm already great at.
Yeah. Awesome. So we've heard that you attended the military. Can you share like one crazy story from the military?
Got a lot of crazy stories from the military. I was an officer in the U.S. Army for 8 years. I was a platoon leader in the armor division, which are tanks. So if you can picture those big old tanks with the good old gun tube, and so a platoon of in the U.S. Army of armor is 16 men, 4 tanks. So that was that was actually my platoon during my 13 months deployed in Iraq. As far as a crazy story, I don't know, what kind of clearance do you guys have? Are you guys top secret clearance?
I used to have top secret before, so yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So I can just share top secret.
Yeah, you can share anything. Yeah, I was we work with intelligence special forces. Yeah, you can tell anything.
Well, thank you for your service. It was actually recently Veterans Day in the United States just a couple of days ago. So thank you for your service. What country do you serve for?
Sweden, but I will work alongside the Americans in many parts of the world. The last almost 10 years of my career I was deployed all the time almost.
Very cool. Well, that's awesome.
Not only cool for Charlie. He was very, very, he didn't see too much of me in the early years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say
story.
Probably one of my craziest stories from the military, my Army days is this. I spent 13 months deployed in Iraq, like
Yeah.
13 months. And I made it, right? I made it through my 13-month deployments. Very sadly and seriously, I will share that like of the 16 men that came over with me, like 4 made the ultimate sacrifice. So, I mean, like
Really?
it was a very tough time to be in Iraq. It was in Fallujah during, some really crazy times were happening over there. So I felt very fortunate, to have made it through, and obviously incredibly saddened by the ultimate sacrifice of the other men in my platoon that had happened. But, at the end, we're all boarding onto this big C-130, which is this massive plane to transport us down to Kuwait. And then from Kuwait, we're going to be transported back to the States to, be done with this deployment. And as we're taking off in the C-130, like the back of the C-130 stays open at takeoff because there's like equipment in there, and they haven't they just don't close it right away. And so the back was open, and as we started to ascend, the back started closing. We started taking small arms fire, and so it was literally small arms fire was coming in, and that, for people that don't know, that's like machine guns and things like that. Not like the big RPGs and
still very dangerous.
Still very dangerous for sure. We were taking small arms fire, and so it was ricocheting around the C-130. Really? It was ping, 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 and everybody's taking cover under their helmets and stuff. And I'm like, am I literally on my flight home going to meet my maker? And fortunately, the plane kept going higher, and the door finally closed, and we were just out of small arms small arms fire range. And, obviously here I am today. But that was one of the things where just oh man, 13 months. And then now this is literally how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anyone get hurt?
Nobody got hurt. And it was literally a miracle because there was ricochets going around, ping, ping, off of the insides. And it was just one of those things where lucky.
That sounds really scary.
I have never told Charlie this, but I had a time where I was a military observer between Lebanon and Israel during the latest war there. I lost actually half of my team, 4 out of 8, by direct impact of explosions and so on. And once I actually have reversing over an anti-tank mine, which didn't go off. And the following day we came to the same spot. We can see our own tracks over the mine, which had not gone off. Sean didn't know that, but
well, he wouldn't be here today if it had, right?
No. Yeah, he would be here alone with you. Yeah.
Oh, he was already born?
It was the same year as he was born.
Oh,
that's scary.
Yeah.
So scary. Yeah, it's just a reality too. Is I don't want to say every. I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but a lot of boys think war is this great thing. Literally,
no, it's
until
not.
the first bullet flies, and then you're like, what was I thinking? This is the worst thing ever. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think absolutely the worst in the position where we both have been managing others is where you send out other people to basically take the bullet before you. I hate that. I'd rather go first, but to send someone out there when it's really, really dangerous, I hate that.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. So how did you end up in Puerto Rico? What was the right choice?
I like to keep the money that I make.
Great.
And that's a very important thing, especially when you're trying to invest in yourself.
Yes.
So in California, I was paying 51% tax.
I know, yeah.
37% federal, so national, and then 13 or 14% state, which is California.
Wow.
You move to Puerto Rico, you pay a flat 4%.
Yeah.
No state, no federal, 4%.
Jeez.
So I gave myself a 41% raise just by moving to Puerto Rico. And guys, I could talk all day. I unfortunately am back to back. I got another interview in just 2 minutes.
No worries at all.
So
I
last
see.
question.
No last question. Happy. We just want to thank you for being on the podcast, really.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you. I love the diversity of the father, the son. It's really a cool experience. Keep doing what you're doing, my friends, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
Perfect. And when it's time for launch next year, let us know. Happy to help you.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
So this has been podcast number 79 of Invest in You. We have spoken about lots of things with John Dumas. We would like to take the opportunity to say that we've got a new logo for our cool podcast, Charlie, right? Who designed that one?
I designed it. I also designed the last one. I've got a little bit better tools now, and I like the new look of a new one, really.
Yeah, I remember why we had the first one, which was linked to Mike Drop Charlie from Bali, but now we've moved on a bit. Charlie, would you like to share a great review from our first dog fan in Australia? If you scroll down.
Yeah, sure. So it reads, great questions and conversation, 5 stars by Mish's Molly Dog. So it's basically a dog that is a fan of our show. So that was from Australia, and it reads, some great guests and conversations that are relevant in 2019 to anyone looking to engage in new methods or ways of thinking. It will be interesting to see how TikToks progresses on the back of increased publicity around the platform.
Perfect. So we have mentioned also lots of other new things. You will, if you look on the links, you'll find some cool merch links to where you can see maybe some clothing, maybe some other cool things, right, Charlie?
Yeah.
I would also like to say we would love to read your review here on the podcast. But the only way to do that is if you actually put a review there. You might also want to rate it. Which rating do we like, Charlie?
5 stars.
We love
So
5
far,
stars.
we've got 18 ratings, and it equates to 5 stars. So our podcast has 5 stars, which makes me very happy.
Actually, do you remember we actually one of those 5 stars is actually a 6-star from Nigel Best?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's an extra one. Guys, so please subscribe so you don't miss out on episodes. We intend to double down to make the quality of the guest really fantastic. We've got one billionaire booked in for later. We just had Rob Moore. There's so much cool things happening around us. Would you like to say anything else? Closing remarks, Charlie?
Thank you for listening.
All right, bring it on.
Bye.
Bye.